Welcome to the Manifesto with Gideon, the Free-quent flyer on the Milenomics podcast network. I am Gideon, the Free-quent flyer, and I'm joined today by the Director of Travel Rewards at Bilt Rewards, Richard Kerr. Richard, welcome to the Manifesto.
My pleasure, man. How you doing? Been too long since we've seen each other in person. A few years, I think.
It has been too long. Down in Texas was the last time, right? In Dallas?
Oh, man, those meetups are so much fun. I'm looking forward to a world where they're happening all the time again.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be every weekend once we get out of this. So, as you know, here on the Manifesto, we like to get our plugs in up top. So where can people find you online? And is there anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, everybody can find me at Kerr Points, Kerr, across all social. The best thing I ever did was find a handle that was available across all social platforms. I'm really glad I did that up front. And you can find everything that we're going to talk about today at BiltRewards.com. Love for you to check us out.
Yeah, so you say across all social. So I'm guessing that you have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. What do you like?
I use each channel for a very specific function. Twitter is kind of like the as serious as I get, which is actually not very serious a lot of the time. Let's banter, chat points of miles. And Instagram, my stories is very much day to day, whatever's going on in the life of points of miles, but also being a dad of young kids, also out on the road in the RV for the last few weeks. So a much more hodgepodge of everything that's going on rather than just points of miles.
That's awesome. Did you get into the RV lifestyle around the same time as Ed Pizzarola? I have him scheduled for a podcast in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Ed and I are thick as thieves, and we have been in the RV life together. Very much going back and forth through text at not the beginning of the pandemic, but a few months in last summer, egging each other on and seeing who's going to buy the bigger RV, and all the time having no idea what we were doing. So figuring it out together, and it's been a blast. Actually, my RV is in Ed's driveway right now. My wife and kids have been down there while I'm here in the office in New York City at Bilt Rewards. So I'm flying back to New York or to DC tonight to go back to Ed's driveway where my RV is.
And then you can drag race them down 16th Street, right?
Yeah, we're going to hook the RVs up and have a pooling contest, and then drag down the easy pass lanes in 95 South so you can get there.
So first I wanted to get a little background on you. I mean, you've been around in the community probably as long as I have. So I was sort of wondering what your path was into the rewards industry, whether you came into it as a travel hacker or as a writer or on the business side. You've now had all three roles. So I was sort of wondering what your introduction was and how that path progressed over time.
Yeah, really long story short is I found points of miles out of a necessity when I was in the Navy. I got back from a deployment a few days before Christmas. The first place I was stationed out in Seattle, and my home, we're a group in Atlanta, and at the time where all my family was Atlanta. So like on December 23rd, our captain said, "You guys can go home for Christmas." And we're like, "Thanks, man. Like, what's a ticket from Seattle to Atlanta cost on December 23rd for a flight on New Year's Eve?" And you have to pick between dropping thousands of dollars for an economy Delta flight or not seeing your family for that much longer. So I paid for my wife and I something like $3,500 for 2 round trip tickets from Seattle to Atlanta, the day before Christmas Eve. And I thought, oof, never again. Like there's got to be a better way. And this was 2010. So found Flyer Talk, and I went down that rabbit hole, man. And then my next duty station was Japan, and where my son was born. And again, you can't, buy that many tickets back and forth on the military salary from Japan to Atlanta. So by that time, I was head deep into the resources that were out there and started creating my own resources. But it was all out of a matter of necessity. I was able to use points and miles to get my family, my in-laws over, to get, me and my wife back to the States. Of course, flying some lovely business class trans-Pacific flights. And then we explored the rest of Asia on points and miles for the 3 years we were over there. So it all started for me out of a matter of necessity. I couldn't afford to get where I wanted to get, and points and miles let me do that.
So over the years, I always like to ask, what was your biggest score, or even if it wasn't that lucrative, your favorite play, the most consistent thing you were able to do, whether it was on the earnings or the redemption side, whether it was a great manufactured spend opportunity or award availability that was consistently available.
Yeah. Oh, just like you, I'm sure many stories over the years and some things and plays that come back up. I think my favorite thing I ever did was in the middle of the night with the brand new sun in Japan. I was like I typically did whenever he would wake up, trying to rock him back to sleep. I would be surfing the websites, seeing what was going on, and I found a mistake fare on the Chase travel portal for Tokyo to the Maldives via Abu Dhabi on Etihad for $900 for first class round trip. So I bought my wife and I a ticket. Said, "Hey, we're going to go to the Maldives in first class." It was diamond first class at the time before they had the suites or anything. And I made the booking. The booking came in and said business class, not first class. Obviously, $900 on that route, so obviously still a heck of a deal. But knowing us, we wanted to see if we could get in first class because that's what I should save the screenshots. And sent the Chase people a note. They said, the invariable 4-hour call later. They said, give us a few days. We got to escalate this. And a couple of days later, I got an email from the Chase travel portal with like the last four of some Chase corporate card, and they had paid the fare difference for my wife and I, and bought like $9,100 each, and we flew $10,000 paid first class tickets. Did the whole stopover and chauffeur and free hotel and all that in Abu Dhabi, and then down to the Maldives for 5 days. And Etihad happened to have a triple miles promo going on at that time, and you could do family pooling. So off those 20 grand in tickets, we ended up getting like 300,000 Etihad miles for that trip. That's a lot of free American flights. So we flew American for free for a few years after that, based off that mistake fare. And I still do business this day with Chase. They, to their credit, they made it happen. So that's my favorite story to tell. The best score I ever had.
Yeah, did that trip kick you up to One World elite status for a year or two?
Etihad's still not in the alliance, but I did have Etihad Gold status for a few years. And I actually had to fly Etihad a few times to the Middle East for Navy work from Japan. So it got me some good benefits when I did have to fly Etihad over the next couple of years.
Yeah, got into the lounge, right?
Yeah, you get in the lounge. Actually, if you fly economy as Etihad Gold, at least in 2013, you got a business class meal and dessert, and they served you first before they served the rest of economy. So just like, little things like that made the trip that much better.
I love it. And these days, what do you like most in terms of rewards programs? The landscape's obviously changed a lot since then.
Yeah, I think overall, people who say the good old days are behind us, like you and I know that there's still the opportunity every day for outsides value. Like the things we do are things that we can never afford financially. So the opportunity for outsized value is still out there every day. But what I like most now is, we're going to go into it, but being in the current job, the things I've always wanted to do and understand from the business side of a loyalty program. And now having 4 months under my belt, a whopping 4 months, I'm an expert right now, but having 4 months of experience developing and building a loyalty program, working with our travel partners and seeing it from the entire different side, it's just been, it's been awesome. It's the stuff I've always wanted to know. The stuff that we don't regularly get access to being on the consumer side. And I'm really enjoying what I'm doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start talking about Bilt Rewards. I've obviously read all the blog posts that were written up when there was the first huge publicity push, and listened to Dave Canty, the head of loyalty, which is a slightly different title than yours. You're the director of travel rewards, and he's the head of loyalty, on Dots, Lines, and Destinations, episode 342. So this is how I see the program, and I want you to let me know whether you think it's totally mistaken or close to the mark. So the way I see it is as a three-legged stool, basically. So you have relationships with your travel partners and some retail partners, I gather, that we can talk about later. I do want to talk about the retail partners also. And then you have a different set of relationships with the large residential landlords that you make payments to. And then you have a third relationship with your white label credit card issuer. Does that sound more or less right, of the three legs of the stool?
Yeah. A little bit more to it, but definitely three important pillars for us. Sure.
Yeah, no, please. I want to give listeners as clear a picture of the company as possible.
Yeah. So I guess just a brief overview for people who aren't familiar with Bilt Rewards. We launched in June. We are a standalone loyalty program. You can think of us kind of like an Aeroplan, except we work across multi different things. We're not owned by any specific airline, hotel, or bank or anything. We're our own program, and it centers around solving the problem of people never being able to earn points on their rent without paying the fees that are out there that traditionally have made the points you earn, not worthwhile because the fee you're going to pay is worth or more expensive than the value of the points you would earn. So our founder, a gentleman named Ankur Jain, bit of a savant at 31 years old and unbelievably connected, went and got regulatory approval to use reward points for down payments on a house, and then figured out a business model where we could issue points and make money as a loyalty program. So on top of that, we have the Bilt Rewards MasterCard right now that is issued by Evolve Bank. And you can pay your rent with the Bilt Rewards MasterCard through our app. And then you can also use it everywhere MasterCard's accepted and earn Bilt points. So the combination of earning points on your rent and then earning points on your credit card spend gives you what we call Bilt points. And those points can be used in a variety of ways. One of them is using them for a down payment on a house, which I just alluded to, required regulatory approval because after the 2008 housing crisis, the government said, hey, these are the very specific things that can be used to fund a loan. And sure enough, loyalty points were not even considered as being something that should be used for that. So you can use them for down payment. You can use them to redeem for what we have, what we call the collection, which is a curated art collection of home decor things that people in markets like our launch market here in New York City and other big cities love. And then you can transfer them to one of our travel partners. So we have 7 airlines and now 2 hotel partners.
Yeah, so I was wondering, I was trying to do as much research about this as possible, and I was wondering whether the 2x on rent payments are capped, according to the website, at 4,000 points per month. It's $2,000 in rent. And does that apply to both the Bilt Rewards Alliance partners and the landlords that you mail checks to?
Yeah, so yes, it does apply 4,000 point cap. However, I think after the time this episode is going to be released on September 21st or afterwards, we're making some announcements. And one of those is getting rid of the 4,000 point per month cap and going to an annual cap of 50,000 points. Some of the feedback we got loud and clear from folks is, we don't like the monthly cap. Some people that live in really expensive markets pay more rent than that. And we're essentially redoing the entire program from a value proposition standpoint. So I'll just give the basic introduction. Right now, at the time of recording, you earn 1x points everywhere MasterCard's accepted, and then you can earn up to 2x points on your monthly rent, depending on how much non-rent spend you put on the card. What we heard from people is there's too many other cards out there that give bonus points and spend categories. We want to earn more than 1x points, and having to keep up with where I'm at per month in order to get up to 2x points on rent was just a little complicated for folks. So while the pickup of our products has been immense, we've barely had to spend any money on marketing because people are so excited about earning points on rent. We really wanted to round out our value proposition and make this the most competitive card on the market and a no-brainer if you're a renter. So what we're going to is the 0123 program starting September 21st. It's no annual fee. Everybody will earn a flat 1x points on rent and 1x points on all spend. And then you'll earn 2x points on travel and 3x points on dining. So we call it the 0123 program. Status monthly goes away. That used to determine how many points on rent you earned, and we're going to an annual status program. All points you earn will count towards your annual status, just like you're used to seeing with a airline or hotel. And that'll be good for 12 months at a time. So 0123 annual status program, flat earnings, and we're really excited about it. So no more monthly cap, just an annual cap.
So that's, if I'm understanding what you're saying right, that means that you could reach your 50,000 point annual cap with just $17,000 in dining spending.
The 50,000 point cap only applies to rent. There is no cap on every other spend. To be clear on that. So 50,000 point cap for rent and no cap for everywhere you use your card. Yeah, definitely want to be clear on that.
Wow, that is obviously a huge improvement on the earning structure. Any changes to your transfer partners or redemption opportunities, or is it just on the earning side that the changes are coming through?
All current redemptions from the collection. We also have some fitness partners, Y7, Hot Yoga, Rumble Boxing, Soul Cycle classes you can redeem your points for. Those all remain, all travel partners. So we have 7 airlines and 1 hotel at time of recording, but on September 21st, when this episode drops, we are adding IHG Hotels as an additional hotel transfer partner on top of World of Hyatt. So we're going to 8 travel partners next week, or now when you're listening to this. So an added value there. We love World of Hyatt. I'm a huge Hyatt fan for life. But sometimes you got to go somewhere where there's not a Hyatt. So adding IHG gives us such a solid footprint everywhere in the world with their almost 6,000 properties that basically anywhere you go in the world, you can use Bilt points to book a free hotel now.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting improvement program. Just earning 3x on dining that you can transfer to Hyatt is going to be a great opportunity on a no annual fee card, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's the same earning structure as the Chase Sapphire Preferred that gives 2x on travel and 3x on dining and 1x everywhere else. But obviously with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you can't earn any points on rent, at least not without a fee. And you have to pay a $95 annual fee for the Chase Sapphire Preferred. We're a no annual fee card. So, we feel pretty strongly about taking on the market and some of our competitors like that and saying, what's the case of having a CSP over a Bilt? And it's hard to argue why you would do that now, especially since we have all the, we're a World Elite MasterCard. And on top of that, we have purchase protection. We have the trip delay and trip cancellation protection. We have cell phone insurance. All of this for no annual fee. We really want people to start thinking like we do that. It's a no-brainer to carry this card.
Yeah, I didn't see the trip delay insurance benefit, but actually not even all World Elite MasterCards have the trip delay protection anymore. The Arrival Plus got rid of it.
Yeah, very much. We've gone above and beyond there. With my experience coming in, I work for Dave Canty, who's my boss, as you had said, the head of loyalty. He has over 25 years of experience building loyalty programs. And I was thrilled to be brought in to, get the opportunity to work for him. Dave started JetBlue TrueBlue. He started Starwood Preferred Guest, SPG. He ran IHG Rewards Club for 4 years, amongst other things, and just a wealth of experience. And it's been great being able to come in and tell, the people here at Bilt, like, hey, these ancillary card benefits are huge and people don't understand them because no card issuer adequately advertises and markets exactly, what they are. So if we add these benefits, if we're willing to take on the cost of having these things, then I now have the opportunity to hopefully be the first card issuer or card program that adequately markets and explains to people, stop paying Verizon $15 a month for insurance and just pay with your Bilt card. Stop paying for trip insurance. We're going to cover you if it's canceled or delayed. All those kinds of things. So we're excited about the value prop that we have now.
All right. Well, if listeners didn't hear it here first, they heard it here second or third when this episode goes live. So I do want to go through each of the 3 sort of legs of the stool that I mentioned earlier. And since we're talking about partner rewards, let's start there. Because one thing that's sort of confused me about Bilt from the beginning is that my totally just as a consumer understanding was that loyalty programs had pretty exclusive relationships with card issuers. So Chase will bail out United during a financial crisis by buying 1 billion United miles up front. American Express will buy 1 billion Delta miles. Citi and Barclay will buy 1 billion American miles. And then once they have sort of that account with the airline, they dribble them out to customers as they make purchases on their co-branded credit cards. So what I'm wondering is sort of as a young company, how do you sort of approach the airline and make them an offer that even gets their attention before you have any customers even?
Yeah, so to be clear, Bilt Rewards is first as a loyalty program. You can still pay your rent through the Bilt Rewards app, even if you're not a Bilt MasterCard holder. You link your checking account to the Bilt Rewards app. You pay your landlord if you live in the Bilt Rewards Alliance, which is our network of over 2 million apartments now. If you live in a huge building like a Related, a Camden, all these folks, they're a part of our alliance now. We work with every major real estate company in the country. You can pay them via the Bilt Rewards app with your checking account. You get a flat 250 points per month. On top of that, the landlords are about to start issuing points. If you sign a new lease, if you renew a lease, if you refer a friend, if you have a maintenance failure, the landlords will have the ability to issue points. So you don't need to be a MasterCard holder in order to get the great value of our program. So It's an important distinction because the travel partners who do have exclusive co-branded contracts with their banks are doing business with the Bilt Rewards loyalty program. They're not doing business with the Bilt Rewards MasterCard. So we want to be clear about that. As far as, talking to these folks, look, we're bringing the next generation of loyalty members to their programs. The people just getting out of college, the young professionals, the people in the large markets that rent. But they're not members of loyalty programs like you and I, or even like our parents. When you look at the airline and hotel programs, they have a bit of an age problem where it's an aging generation, and their programs, while many of them are doing a better job than others, are kind of seen as archaic or confusing, or people think that they have to spend too much to ever see any value out of this. So when we bring our network of loyalty members that are all the next generation of Gen Z and millennials, they're excited because we bring a new member base to them that they don't have access to. Everybody wants to get in Gen Z. Everybody wants to get in front of millennials, but very few pipelines that effectively deliver your targeted message exist. And Bilt Rewards is certainly one of them, because now we're, in thousands of apartment buildings all across the country. So the airlines and hotels and all our partners are very excited when we approach them and explain Bilt Rewards to them. And it's been a lot of fun to get them. They've really, not without effort, but very little friction to get our partners working with us, and we're excited about each and every one of them.
I was sort of thinking of an example for how this might work, and I was looking up some old Hyatt point promotions, because that seems like the best transfer partner for me personally. That's where I transfer virtually all of my Chase Sapphire chasing points. So like during promotions, you can buy Hyatt points through points.com or whatever for 1.8 cents, maybe getting a little bit less if you click through a shopping portal or whatever. Is that the right order of magnitude to think of what Bilt is paying? Obviously you have business secrets and all that, but are you paying way less than that or way more than that? Or is that sort of the wheelhouse for what Hyatt is willing to part with their points for?
Yeah. One of the great things that you've always wanted to know as a consumer, it's one of the things I wanted to know as well, is what are the rates that different businesses negotiate with these loyalty programs to buy points for? It's certainly not something that I can discuss in the podcast, but I'll tell you that every program protects the value of their points. So if you're thinking that the people at Hyatt are going to give their points away for, very small, huge differences, then I'll tell you the answer is no. They do a great job in protecting the value of their points.
Yeah, it's just I know that a lot of bloggers are going to come into this saying, if I can earn 3% cash back, then I can buy points for more than Bilt is selling them, sort of if IHG is holding a point sale or something like that. So I'm just trying to square what the role of having a large loyalty program does in terms of getting a discount. The other piece of this is that Dave Canty on that Dots Lines Destinations episode I was talking about mentioned that you're proud that you had a airline member in each airline alliance, so that where low level availability is around, Bilt members will always be able to transfer to at least one member of that alliance in order to book. It may have to be a partner reward, Aeromexico booking on Delta or whatever. So what I was thinking about listening to that was, do you go to all of the alliance members and ask for the lowest bid, or do you pay more for the first member of an alliance to sort of set a ceiling that you're willing to pay, and then have the rest of the members of the alliance bid against each other? I'm just interested, without speaking about the value of the points or what you're paying for them, just what that negotiating dynamic looks like when you're dealing with so many members, 20, 25 members of an alliance.
Yeah, sure. No, you don't ever want to pit the members against each other. That's not an approach that we've taken, because really at the top of these loyalty programs, and as I've learned in the B2B loyalty space, it's a small world. Everybody talks to everybody, and especially when something as revolutionary as Bilt comes along and we start popping up places and conversations, everybody kind of calls around and say, hey, what's going on with these Bilt people? Is this thing real? Is this so you don't want to ever put, alliance members against each other, or even airlines outside of the alliances against each other. These partners came about both from business and relationship standpoints. Again, Dave knows everybody from his 25 years. So when he goes to some of the heads of these other programs, and same with our founder, Ankur Jain, goes to his contacts and says, hey, look, we're really excited about this. Will you kind of take a leap of faith with us? Because, coming right out the gate with transfer partners like American and Hyatt and Aeroplan and Virgin points, it's a strong showing, and that happens because of the personal and business relationships over years, and obviously showing them a solid product of what we're going to do. So there wasn't any competitive bidding. There wasn't any, putting out RFPs or anything like that. It was leveraging relationships and going to people that we knew would bring value to our customers and saying, hey, let's see if we can get something done here.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I showed my cards. I think Hyatt is probably the transfer partner that I would use most consistently. But I wanted to ask what you think the highest value transfer partner is, and if you have a favorite redemption buried in the other award charts, something that would get you to transfer to a different partner.
Yeah, sure. Let me just give everybody listening a list of our partners real quick. So we have American Airlines, Emirates, Skywards, Hawaiian Airlines, HawaiianMiles, Aeroplan, FlyingBlue, Turkish Airlines, Miles and Smiles, Virgin Points, World of Hyatt, and IHG is everybody. Now, what I like about this list and why we've continued to kind of curate it this way is there is the opportunity for outside value in each of these, and each of them gotten a little bit better. So I'll give through and give you kind of my favorite redemption for each one. So American, still really attractive priced business class to Europe, South America, if you have the saver availability dates. And honestly, their web specials continue to come through for me, especially being in Atlanta. I don't know if it's because they're targeting the Delta hub or what, but I can find 5,000, 7,500 mile domestic flight redemptions out of Atlanta routinely with American. Just a great currency to have. I also have executive platinum status, so continue to rack those miles up on top of my Bilt points. Really symbiotic for me. Emirates Skywards, the redemptions to Europe on their fifth freedoms from Newark to Athens and then JFK to Milan. Fantastic pricing for any class there. It is a little bit cheaper if you book round trip. So even though a lot of us look like just booking one ways, it's like 60,000 Skywards miles to fly business class to Europe on arguably one of the best products in the sky. Hawaiian Airlines, HawaiianMiles, if you find their level 1 saver availability from the West Coast to Hawaii, it's 20,000 miles round trip. But here's the secret that I actually love the best about Hawaiian. You can buy the cheapest fare class that's out there for a Hawaiian ticket, and you can upgrade it to their first class for 25,000 Hawaiian miles. That's a fantastic, like Orlando to Honolulu. Buy a $500 round trip, $400 round trip ticket, and then 25,000 points to upgrade 10 hours in their first class. Like, that's the way to go. Aeroplan, tons of blogs and everything about the new revamped Aeroplan program, the ability to do stopovers, the attractive pricing, a ton of stuff to like there. Really hard to call out just one thing. FlyingBlue, 11,500 domestic Delta flights. Really handy for me coming out of Atlanta. Just remember, you cannot book Delta with FlyingBlue if you are within 21 days of departure. It will show no availability. So book at least 21 days ahead. Turkish Miles and Smiles, I think they got 33,800 miles business class to Istanbul routinely on their business class flights. It was my last trip I was actually supposed to take right before the pandemic. I had Atlanta to Istanbul for 33,800 Turkish Miles and Smiles. Obviously, flying to Hawaii on United for 7,500 Turkish Miles and Smiles is ridiculous and awesome. First class for 15,000 Turkish Miles and Smiles to Hawaii. And Virgin Points, I think, Gideon, you're probably familiar with that with I am, all the great redemptions that lie there, whether it be Delta or ANA or upgrading paid Virgin Atlantic tickets. Value everywhere, man. I like each one of these programs for different reasons.
Wow, that's great. The only two you didn't mention were Hyatt and IHG. What's your favorite Hyatt redemption? What's your favorite IHG redemption? As long as we're doing this.
Yeah. Hyatt is tough because there's so many good ones. Hyatt's award chart is just so, it's your favorite transfer partner. It's mine too, for reasons that are probably too long to state shortly, but the ability to book solid hotels for between 8,000 and 12,000 points is just really unbelievable. And then IHG, I tell you, man, I keep a stash of about 100,000 IHG points because inevitably now hitting the road, going places, going to national parks, I'm going to need to stay in a Holiday Inn Express somewhere. And Holiday Inn Expresses and those kinds of brands have been very popular with the traveling family. When we've been moving the RV somewhere and we just need to pop into a hotel and go to sleep because we got another long day of getting to the campground. You don't want to set up the RV for one night somewhere when you're trying to get up and go. We'll stop in at a Holiday Inn Express that could be $200 a night, or 15,000, 20,000 ISG points, and you just get really great value there. So, I mean, I always keep a stash of ISG points for those one night convenient stays that I seem to find myself needing.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up the loyalty part, I wanted to ask if you had any favorite non-travel redemptions in the catalog. Is there anything that Bilt got a killer deal on that you can pass the savings on to members? If you bought a gross of Pelotons or something that people can get a good price on.
I can tell you our most popular item. I think it's sold out right now as I scroll through our app. And by the way, everybody can download the Bilt Rewards app. You don't have to be a member, but we have great content in there that myself and our editorial director write all the time, explaining the loyalty programs. Our champagne saver. It's a golden champagne saver that people here in New York have just gone crazy about. And it's actually like a thing on social media now to take the Bilt champagne saver and pop a bottle. So that's been the number one item from the collection.
I just saw that before we recorded and wondered whether more people use it as a accent piece or to open bottles of champagne.
And we've gotten quite a few videos from folks using it to open the bottle, so I hope people are actually using them.
Outstanding. Okay, so let's move on to the second leg of the Bilt stool that I mentioned, which is on the landlord side. So I don't know how intensely you were involved in this process, but I wanted to know what the process was like of selling these large residential landlords on accepting Bilt payments, whether they saw the advantages immediately, whether they were initially skeptical, whether some have refused outright and said it sounds stupid. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so we have an entire real estate team. I say entire, they're a mighty team of 4 that manage over 2 million apartments right now and growing. I think in September we launched 30,000 additional apartments. So really amazing work for a team of 4. I was not here when they signed up the first real estate partners, and obviously none of this would exist if we didn't have our real estate partners. But as is explained to me, it is quite unique to have all of these companies together in a program where out in the wild, for lack of a better term, it's really quite a competitive market for the different real estate companies. They often don't like to work together. They're after many of the same markets and filling the apartments up, especially given what's going on the last year and a half, 2 years. So the fact that they all are underneath one roof with all of their logos together has never been done before and was quite a challenge, as I understand it, from the beginning. But once we got the first couple people on board, and I can't remember now who our first 2 or 3 were to sign up, it got to the point where everybody started to pay attention, and they said there must be something going on here that makes these people want to work together. And now our door is essentially getting beat down every day by more and more landlords wanting to come and join the program. The allure is it's a marketing and it's a retention program that many of them have never had before. And now that's unified across the country, it's really powerful for them. It's been difficult to have incentives out there that isn't just straight cash out of a landlord's pocket. It's been difficult to have a way to make up for service or maintenance failures. It's been difficult to do anything except throw money at people to get them to refer their friends or do improvements to the building, which pretty costly depending on which market you're in. So they're all excited about it, so much so that a few of our real estate partners now own equity in the business and are some of our leading investors, if that gives you an idea of the faith that they have in the business.
Yeah, so can you walk through the end-to-end process of paying your rent with Bilt, whether you're using the app or the MasterCard? Actually, let's start with the MasterCard. So most people's rent is due on the first of the month. Are all credit cards set up to have a calendar month statement cycle? Most credit cards you open, it's basically the date of your application plus a couple days begins your statement cycle. So I'm wondering how that works with aligning the statement cycle with the rent payment cycle.
Yeah, no, the card is completely separate. So it's not the credit card statement cycle is based on your open date. It's not tied up to a calendar date. But paying rent is essentially the same no matter how you participate in Bilt. Whether you live in the Bilt Rewards Alliance or not, whether you're a card holder or not, you still head to the rent tab in the Bilt Rewards app and you click pay rent. If you live in the Bilt Rewards Alliance, we are connected to your landlord through an API, and we have your unit number and your bill, and you pay electronically. The card, if you're a card holder, you still pay through the app. That charge will show up on your card statement. If you have a linked checking account, then we ping your account, ensure the funds are there, and then you pay electronically. Either way, your landlord is paid electronically if you live in the Bilt Rewards Alliance. If you don't, then we'll be sending a check on your behalf, and all you do is go to the pay rent tab. You click set up rent payments. You put your address in, which we use the Google address verifier to make sure it's a real address, and you enter the amount that you want to pay, and then that's it. You hit pay rent. A check is created the same day, and we send it USPS first class mail. So regardless of how you pay rent, whether you're in the alliance, out of the alliance, or a card holder, not a card holder, it's all done on the pay rent tab in the app. A few things to point out here. One is if you take your actual Bilt card and try and go and pay at the front desk of your landlord, we actually have blocked that transaction because you'll be charged a fee. And we don't want that to happen. So we call that fee protect. You'll get a text message that says, hey, we noticed that you tried to pay a landlord at the desk. We declined the charge because we don't want you to get charged the typical fee that a landlord charges. Please go in the Bilt Rewards app and pay. The second thing here is what we call Bilt Protect. One of the things I first had questions about when I came here was, isn't this giving people an opportunity to get in significant debt by putting their rent on a credit card? Is this, something that lines up with my values? And our founder said, let me tell you what we've done to address that, because we have the same concerns. It's called Bilt Protect. This is an optional feature that you can toggle on and off with a button on the pay rent tab in the app. If you want Bilt Protect on, even if you're a card holder, we will essentially pay with your linked checking account. We'll ping that account via Plaid to make sure you have the funds, and then you'll pay rent out of your checking account rather instantly, and it'll be debited right out of that. So if you're worried about that's a problem for you, then you can turn Bilt Protect on. It is mandatory for some people. If you don't have the available credit limit on your card, if you've gone late a few times, certain other criteria, you have to use Bilt Protect, and you have to pay out of your checking account. And then the other thing we've done is, if you do use the Bilt MasterCard, if you don't use Bilt Protect, essentially your rent payment cannot be revolved on a monthly basis. Whatever your minimum payment is due for your card statement, your rent payment will also be included on top of that. So if you buy a cup of coffee for $1 and that's the only time you use your card, but you pay a $2,000 rent, your minimum payment due on that card statement will be $2,001. So between Bilt Protect, fee protect, and then not letting people revolve their rent payment, we feel pretty confident that we've done everything we can to encourage people to be responsible paying their rent.
And that fee protect, you said, is the fact that your rent payment is always part of your minimum payment. Is that mandatory for everyone, or is that also credit rated along with the Bilt Protect?
So fee protect is where we're not letting you swipe your physical card in the landlord office. You have to pay rent through the Bilt Rewards app.
Sorry, I got that backwards. Yeah.
But everybody has to pay their minimum. Everybody has to pay their rent every month, period. That's for everybody.
I have a few follow-up questions about the check payment option. Sites like Plastique will say if your payment arrives late, or if it arrives after the guaranteed arrival date, then we'll pay your late fee. They famously have, to the best of my knowledge, they have never honored that for anyone. But I was wondering what kind of guarantee you offer to make sure that rent payments arrive on time, or whether you cover late fees if they're delayed for whatever reason.
Yeah, so we recommend people use 5 to 7 business days before their rent's due to send the check, even though so far in our first 4 months it's taken 2 to 3 days for the check to show up. However, if something happens and you contact our customer service, we have the best customer service agents. They're all here in the office in New York. I see them on chat all day, every day, and we review it. It's awesome. They're going to help you out. If it was our mistake, if we had something wonky happen, if the check got lost, we have the USPS tracking. We're going to make it right. We're not going to leave anybody hanging in the wind. And I don't think we've had to do that yet, unless somebody has, sent the check the day before their rent was due. So if you do that, we're still going to make it right the first time, but your account's going to be annotated. If the second time we go in and see that you tried to mail a check the day before rent for a second month, then we're probably going to tell you to stop doing that. But knowing our founder,
I'm coming at it more from the perspective of, we have wildfires in California and hurricanes in New Orleans and tropical storms in Maine, that you may mail the check 7 days in advance from New York, and it just may not get to California within 7 days.
We're 100% going to take care of the customer, likely via some courtesy points. That would do that. If it's a significant late fee, we've already had this conversation. If the check just does not show up and you've done your part, we're not going to leave the customer hanging out. That's not what we do, what we're about. We'll absolutely take care of you.
I was also wondering whether the check mailing option works as a kind of prospect acquisition, that even if you're mailing out the check, you then have the landlord's mailing address, maybe even their phone number, their email address. Do you reach out to people who are getting Bilt checks and say, hey, wouldn't it be so much easier if this money was electronically deposited every month?
We're not right now, and it's probably a capacity issue. We have more than enough work for the 4 people on our real estate team. It should honestly be 20 people. So no, we're not doing any prospecting or taking the data to go and retarget folks right now.
Okay. And are you also using the Bilt Rewards Alliance as a revenue center so that you may electronically deposit $975 on a $1,000 rent payment? Or is it more just a way to acquire customers into the loyalty program?
Yeah, it's a purely acquisition force. So what's happening right now is if you live in the Bilt Rewards Alliance, you would have gotten a targeted email that says, hey, Gideon, we got a new program that we're partnering with here. Wouldn't it be awesome to earn points on rent for no fee every single month? And we've seen great adoption via those targeted emails so far. So it's a huge marketing arm for us. Obviously, without the real estate partners, we wouldn't have a business. So it's worked great, but no, we're not taking any cuts off the rent payments or anything like that.
All right. Makes sense. So finally, I want to turn to that third leg of the stool, the time we have remaining, the credit card. So I know that there are lots of white label credit card issuers. Sutton Bank and Synchrony are the ones that probably most travel hackers are most familiar with. So I was wondering what factors go into selecting your issuer. Like what do they vary on? Whether it's payment speed from the bank to you, or revenue sharing, or the credit standards that they adopt. How much do those vary between banks, and how much of a role does that play in selecting an issuer?
Yeah, a little bit out of my purview. They'd already selected Evolve Bank before I got here a few months. So I wasn't a part of any of those negotiations. And I honestly, probably something I should go ask our finance guys myself. Hey, why did we pick Evolve Bank? I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I would imagine all of that is part of it. But Evolve Bank's the issuer. Then CardWorks is also another white label business in the card industry, and they're basically servicing the card for us. If you call the number on the back of the Bilt card, you're calling out to a company called CardWorks, who are our trained customer service agents as far as anything from the card side. Now, loyalty side, you're going to talk to us here at Bilt, but anything as far as the Bilt MasterCard and things that can go wrong or help you need on that side is all handled by CardWorks. But I really don't know the answer to your question as far as why we chose Evolve or how much those things occur between different banks.
Yeah, fascinating. So you mentioned the Bilt Protect program makes sure that your rent payment is always part of the minimum payment on your Bilt credit card. But to what extent does risk sharing factor into the business model? Because the reason why you can't typically pay rent for no fee with a credit card is that the credit card companies don't like cutting checks because you can't claw back cash or payments to third parties like that. So what happens if a Bilt user disputes a credit card charge, even if it's only $2,000 or $3,000? If it happened enough, that would probably that would cut into both the bank and Bilt's.
It all goes back to our underwriting model. So you've got to acquire the right kind of customers where you de-risk, getting people who are going to default on their rent as much as possible. And it's been really fascinating to work with and hear our finance guys talk about, the different kinds of things that go into underwriting, really the complication, how complicated it is now today, and complicated meaning not necessarily bad, but just everything that goes into acquiring the right kind of customer that's not going to default on their balances. And that's where that's all de-risked for us, at least as far as my insight goes into the finance side of the company.
Yeah, so that actually brings me to my last question: how you weigh those factors when deciding what renters to issue credit cards to, or landlords even to accept as payees. I guess I'm thinking is there's some kind of danger of digital redlining where only residents or landlords in rich neighborhoods get access to Bilt, or the flip side of that, where you have digital loan sharking, where you're only issuing credit cards to people that you expect to only make minimum payments. And it sounds like the Bilt Protect is sort of like designed to avoid the second problem, but I'm wondering whether there's a problem on the first side of only admitting landlords in wealthy areas, or only admitting high-income residents, and in a sense sort of excluding a large population of people from the program entirely.
So we follow all the regulations, of Equal Credit Opportunity Act. We have to be audited against those kinds of things, and there's no geo targeting based in our underwriting or even our marketing. Our launch markets are all over the country. So the vision is that if you rent in America, regardless of where you live or how much your rent is, that you're doing that on the Bilt Rewards platform. I mean, that's what we want. We're not after only people that pay $4,000 rent or anything like that. Actually, we had the opportunity to let some friends and families join, and my sister's a high school teacher in Houston, Texas, lives in a house. I think her rent's $1,200. She has a Bilt card now and mails a check to her landlord, and that's what we want to see. So we certainly follow all the regulations that's required to make sure that it's nothing discriminatory, but I can tell you that we are not geo-targeting, and that our vision is, out of the 90 million renters, that 90 million and one use the Bilt platform to pay their rent.
Yeah. So two final questions. You're a travel hacker. What's the deal with this wait list? How long is the wait list, and how long? Not just how many people are on it, but how long does it take if somebody listens to this podcast and signs up on September 21st? How long is it going to take for them to get admitted to the program?
Why don't we do this? Why don't I give you 50 codes that let 50 listeners skip the wait list and apply immediately? And then that's your answer. We can do that. No, we had to do that for several reasons. The wait list is, we get it. It's not what everybody wants. Everybody wants access to it now, but we had so much technology and assumptions and things that went into building this product that we couldn't just open the floodgates from day one. And that was all down to, we wanted to ensure that the customer experience was going to be top notch. We've seen some other fintech companies launch where they kind of open the gate, and that just results in the customer experience being quite terrible. I'm thinking about one business checking company that's offered a lot of points lately, and the complaints that have come out of trying to sign up and get the bonus for them. And it's just not something that we wanted. So we've gone very deliberately slow and intentional to make sure that all of this technology works, because we're talking about people's rent at the end of the day. We don't want anybody feeling like they're not confident their rent's going to get to their landlord. So rather than open the floodgates, we decided to take that approach. But by the time people are listening to this, September 21st, with the new value proposition 0123 being launched, you'll see the wait list very quickly start to go away. And I would imagine within a few months, people will be able to apply as fast as they like. But what I can do is get you codes so that people listen to this podcast. If you want to apply for Bilt Rewards card or join the Bilt Rewards program, we'll get you in there immediately.
All right, fantastic. Is there anything else you would like people to know about the program? Or
hey, we're excited. The vision of Bilt, while it's amazing, for this audience, for travel rewards, is also, remember, you can use it for down payment in a home. So if you earn Bilt points over the course of several years of paying rent, and then that puts a dent covering several $1,000s of a down payment towards a house, it's really a great story as well. And we've got a lot of things that are going to be complimentary coming out. Our status chart, as released on September 21st, everybody will be able to find that. I can give Gideon a link or send it to him to put up in the show notes. It's just the beginning. This is going to be a continually iterative process. we're already changing the value prop up a few months in based on user feedback. We're all about that. That's what we said from the start. So if anybody ever has any ideas, complaints, feedback, positive or negative, just reach out to me. Probably social media. Send me a DM, and happy to chat and listen to all the ideas. But we're excited about everything we got going on over here at Bilt Rewards.
All right. Thanks again for being so generous with your time. Thanks to my guest, Richard Kerr. You've been listening to The Manifesto with Gideon, the Free-quent flyer, on the Milenomics Podcast Network. Goodbye and good luck.